Howdy readers and howdy film buffs. I'm Jason. This is Chapter and Verse, and this is my first video in almost 3 weeks. This has by far been the longest interval between videos that I've had since joining BookTube, and the reason for that is just the new reality that we're all in, and and just trying to figure out how to kind of negotiate one's daily existence now. And I was for a week there even just having a really difficult time reading. I was so just kind of fretful and anxious and obsessed with the news, and I have finally kind of got more into the groove of reading and figured out how to shelve all of the stimulus that's coming in from the internet. And so that's been good. That's been helpful. But I've been working from home. Kelly has been working from home, and just essentially going out into the backyard when we need some fresh air or what have you. And it's been a bizarre time, and it's going to continue to be a bizarre time from the looks of things. But given that all of the movie houses basically around the country are closed right now, I even got online this morning just to see for myself. I was going to take a screen capture of it, at Box Office Mojo or Rotten Tomatoes, just to see what the top 5 films in the country were over the weekend and what their box office grosses were. And they're not even listing any of that information. Probably because it's like, Onward made $712 or something like that over the weekend. So I wanted to share with you guys at long last my favorite films of 2019. And here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to give you first my 3 most overrated films of 2019. And then we're going to do my 5 favorite from number 5 to number 1. And then I'm actually going to give you guys my 6 favorite scenes from the cinema in 2019. So, in no particular order, all right, my first overrated film, which should come as no surprise at all, is Greta Gerwig's Little Women, which I have ranted about at length on this channel before, so I won't go into it much at all here. I will link to that rant video in the description box below if you're curious. But suffice it to say that I think Gerwig is a strong visual storyteller, but she's a pretty terrible screenwriter. I think she's got the makings of a really great director, but she needs to have other people writing the screenplays for her, because she doesn't seem to understand how to structure a story. My second most overrated film of the year was Bong Joon-ho's Parasite, which I've spoken about a little on this channel before. But basically, I just felt the film was just too cynical. It was just too damn cynical for me. And I also really felt like, beginning with the scene, where we have the main characters, the family, who have kind of insinuated themselves into the household of this, this wealthy family. The scene where they're all just getting blasted and the doorbell rings. From that point on, I felt like the movie really kind of went off the rails a little bit. And I felt like the director took not only the easy way out by kind of, this kind of spiral into violence, but it was also the lazy way out, it seemed to me. And that is unfortunate, really, because there was, some critics have compared Parasite to Hitchcock's work, and I feel like that was the moment it could have really become Hitchcockian, but it chose not to, and it chose to just get kind of gonzo and gory and a little bit stupid. And my last overrated film of the year is The White Crow, directed by Ralph Fiennes, which is about the dancer Rudolf Nureyev. And I had been really excited to see this. Ralph Fiennes had directed a film about Charles Dickens and Nellie Tiernan called The Invisible Woman. a few years back, and it was really, really good. I'd actually really like to see it again. I just don't think he has quite found his feet yet as a filmmaker. He's getting there, right? I think he's closer than Greta Gerwig is. But like with Little Women, the biggest problem with The White Crow was the screenplay, which I don't think Ray Fiennes wrote, so that's not on him. But as a director, I mean, he should have realized there's really no story here, right? We're not giving an audience any reason at all to care about this guy and what happens to him. And that's a big problem for a screenplay to have. So as a director, he should have, worked with the screenwriter to give us more of a narrative, really. There was really no story to The White Crow, and there could have been and should have been. So now for my best films of the year. In fifth place, we have All Is True, directed by Kenneth Branagh, and about William Shakespeare, with Branagh playing William Shakespeare in a prosthetic nose, which I actually didn't have that much problem with. A lot of critics didn't believe it, didn't like it, felt like it looked fake somehow. But I felt like it looked every bit as real as Nicole Kidman's nose in The Hours when she played Virginia Woolf. So All Is True, it's this movie that got no attention at all. And it's got Kenneth Branagh, like I said. Ian McKellen is in it. Judi Dench plays Shakespeare's wife. And it's just beautifully done. Like, it's really, really beautifully kind of mounted, and it's beautifully shot, and it's beautifully framed. And when you're watching it, you just get the sense, which, I mean, it comes as no surprise, right? Given how many adaptations of Shakespeare Branagh has made in the past. You just get this sense that Branagh really, really loves this artist, loves this man. And as a result, the film feels like a kind of Valentine to the mind and the heart that created those plays, and it was wonderful. I did not expect it to move me like it did. I kind of just basically bawled at the end of it, which really caught me by surprise. But it's just a lovely film. It's just a really, really lovely film. So if you haven't seen All Is True yet, you should. In fourth place is Jennifer Kent's film, The Nightingale. Now, Jennifer Kent directed the horror film, The Babadook, a few years back. And I really, really admired The Babadook. But I think The Nightingale is a step better. It's a kind of revenge piece that is set, I think, in like the 1830s, maybe. If I remember right, it's in New Zealand or Tasmania, somewhere around there. And it is about a young woman who has the most horrific things happen to her. And not just one horrific thing, but two. And not just two, but three. And The Nightingale is about the extent to which a person will go to not only exact revenge, but to force someone who has done them wrong to look what they've done in the face and acknowledge it. It is a harrowing film. It's an absolutely harrowing film. And for all the talk that there was this year around the Oscars and about there being no women filmmakers who were nominated, I found it really interesting that Jennifer Kent's name was not in that conversation at all. She is such a better director than Greta Gerwig. And really, that conversation was all about Greta Gerwig. It wasn't about women filmmakers. It was about Greta Gerwig. Let's be honest. And Jennifer Kent just directs circles around her. And my third favorite film of the year was Taika Waititi's Jojo Rabbit, which caught me off guard, to say the least. So I didn't quite know what to expect from it. The trailer I thought was hysterical. But even just from the trailer alone, it seemed like the kind of film that was either going to succeed wildly and just feel like, a kind of bold and visionary experiment, or it was going to be a movie that was going to be not just a disastrous failure, but offensive and tone deaf and garish. And for me, anyway, and I know this isn't true of everyone, a lot of critics really did not like Jojo Rabbit, but for me, it was the former. and it's a comedy. But the first time I saw it, I've seen it twice now. The first time I saw it, I didn't really laugh very much, and it wasn't because these various scenes weren't funny. It was more because I really didn't know what I was supposed to be feeling. The film is so brazen, and it juggles just so many emotions, and it takes such risks that you're left kind of reeling while you're watching it, and you're never quite sure where you're at emotionally, like what register you're in, and yeah. But I just felt like it was just a really brilliant kind of cautionary tale about hero worship. And for a film that is about the Second World War and about the Holocaust, to kind of take that tack and instead give us a film that is about a little boy who allows his own kind of penchant for adoration to reach a kind of dangerous fever pitch. That is a pretty strange thing to do, actually. And it works. It works for me, anyway. I really, really love Jojo Rabbit. My number 2 film of the year is the new one from Terrence Malick, A Hidden Life. And I am pleased to say that Terrence Malick has righted the course of his ship with this film. His last 3 features, which were To the Wonder, Knight of Cups, and Song to Song, the first 2 of those, they had a lot of really good things about them, but on the whole, they just didn't work. And his third one of those features, Song to Song, is the only genuinely bad film I think that Terrence Malick has ever made. A Hidden Life had been in production and in post-production for quite some time. I've been waiting for it. It is about it's a true story, and it's about the Austrian conscientious objector Franz Jägerstätter, who refused to swear loyalty to Hitler during World War II, and who was imprisoned and beaten and eventually executed. And the film is just exquisite. I've heard some people say that it's Malick's most overt Christian film. I don't know that I would say that, actually. I feel like The Tree of Life is still his most overt Christian film, but this is definitely a movie about faith, about how a person can trust in God, even in the midst of terror, even in the midst of fear. Oftentimes we see kind of popular Christian art, especially from within the Christian publishing industry or the Christian filmmaking industry, and the idea behind a lot of that is just trusting God. We're even seeing that now with the coronavirus, right? There are all these posts all over Facebook and everywhere where Christians are saying, just trust in God, have faith in God, don't live your life in fear, etc., etc. And what bothers me about that is that it implies that to have faith in God, to have trust in God, that there's a kind of machismo to that there's something really macho about it, and that it's supposed to drive out fear. Well, we're human beings, and being afraid is part and parcel of that. And even if we look at the Garden of Gethsemane, right? Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane. Yes, in the end, right, he tells his father, "Your will be done." But he was terrified. He was really, really frightened of what he was being called to do. And if Christ is allowed to be frightened, it doesn't make any sense that we shouldn't be. And A Hidden Life understands that tension, that dynamic, that a person can and still should have faith in God in the midst of something that is unknowable and terrifying and the stuff of nightmares, really. But at the same time, to have fear is it's completely understandable, and to try to drive that out or pretend that it's not there somehow is I don't know. It's laughable, really. And Malick is a very serious filmmaker, and this This is a movie that is philosophically and theologically and emotionally just incredibly intelligent and just beautifully observed. And I adored it. My only qualm with A Hidden Life was I felt like the middle section of it could have just been a little bit leaner. And I was telling Lukash from Totally Pretentious about this the other day. Like, I'm not sure where it could have been leaner. I would need to see it again. But I think it probably could have had 5 or 10 minutes trimmed out of it somewhere. And it would have been even stronger. It would have felt tighter. But apart from that, I mean, like I said, he's back on the horse. And he has made another, if not masterpiece, near masterpiece. My favorite film of the year was The Lighthouse, directed by Robert Eggers, who many of you will know as the director of The Witch from about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And The Lighthouse, it's many things, right? It's many, many things. It is, it's full of allusions to myth and to folktale. But in the end, what The Lighthouse is, above all, is a study in extremes, right? So you have these two men who are trapped together, and they can't go anywhere, right? And if you have two people in an enclosed environment, which is a fascinating thing to think of right now, I mean, with everybody self-quarantined, if you have two people who are trapped together and who don't like each other, this is a movie about what might happen in circumstances like that. And granted, yes, I mean, it takes it to really dark, extreme ends, but it does it to, I think, to make a point about human nature and about how far people can be pushed, what people's breaking points might be. And I just thought it was just brilliant. It took a ton of risks. And, and I think Willem Dafoe probably gave the best performance by an actor this year. The fact that he wasn't nominated for an Oscar for it is just kind of mind-blowing to me. But again, I just feel like my tastes in film anymore are so out of step with kind of current trends or popular trends, certainly with the Academy. So it shouldn't come really as any surprise that Willem Dafoe was overlooked by the Academy for this movie, and that Malick's A Hidden Life was completely overlooked by the Academy. At least The Lighthouse got nominated for cinematography, but A Hidden Life absolutely should have been nominated for cinematography, original score, adapted screenplay, picture, director, but yeah. So those were my 5 favorite films of the year. All Is True, The Nightingale, Jojo Rabbit, A Hidden Life, and The Lighthouse. Now, in closing, I just wanted to share with you my 6 favorite scenes of 2019. The first of those, right, in no particular order, the first of those is the curse in The Lighthouse. And those of you who've seen the film know what scene I'm talking about. The second is the cliff in Midsummer, or as Juan says, Midsommar. Juan from Just One Reader. And again, if you've seen that film, there's one cliff scene, and I wish I could get it out of my mind, but sadly I can't. It was intense, to say the least. The third scene, the song in Wild Rose, by which I mean Jessie Buckley, who's the star of Wild Rose, singing the original song, Glasgow, at the end of that film. The fact that song did not get nominated for the Oscar, and again, me bitching about the Oscars, but when we think about best song winners in the past, right, we think, U2, and we think of Eminem, and we think of Bruce Springsteen. This song, Glasgow, is on par with those. It is on that level, and the fact that the Oscars didn't nominate it is just it's just obscene, really. The fourth scene is the outfit in Long Shot, by which I mean Captain Crunch's Grinder Date with Seth Rogen dressed up in like some kind of Swedish traditional costume. I've seen that film 3 times now, I think, and That scene makes me laugh so hard I cry every single time I see it. And the fifth one is the chase in Ad Astra, by which I mean the scene where we have the buggies chasing each other across the surface of the moon. A lot of critics didn't like that scene. They felt like it was too much like something out of Buck Rogers, and that it didn't really sit well in a science fiction film that was otherwise so quiet and so cerebral. But I loved it. There was just something about all of that white and about that really clean gold sheer of the shields on their helmets that was just breathtaking. And last is the beginning. And by that I mean the first 15 minutes of A Hidden Life. I cried through the entire first 15 minutes of that film, and I was worried that I was going to cry through the whole 3 hours. That didn't end up happening, but those first 15 minutes were the best cinema of anything that came out last year. Those 15 minutes by themselves were better even than The Lighthouse in its entirety, in my opinion. Nobody, in my view, nobody living today is a better filmmaker than Terrence Malick. And it'll be a sad day when he's no longer around, when he's not making films anymore. In the meantime, though, we have another film of his in the works, right? He just recently, maybe 2 months ago, finished principal photography on his new film, tentatively called The Last Planet. And it is going to be a film about Christ, which obviously I'm very excited about. Anyhow, I will leave it there. I will talk to you guys again very soon. And hopefully it won't be quite so long before I make another video, which is likely going to be a mammoth update. But I'm also going to be doing a live stream on Wednesday night this week. So if you want details on that, just check out the community tab on my channel. And there's a post there letting you know what film we're going to kind of watch together. We're going to have a watch along. And I think, what's it called? The Land of Steady Habits, I think it is. It's the new film from Nicole Holofcener. And we're going to watch that together on Wednesday night. And then I'll do a live stream about it afterwards. So, again, check out the community tab for details on that. And I will see you guys again very soon. Adios.